Alright guys, I wanted to give you an idea of how I'm going about doing these things. I currently have the brace up in my vise. Now my vise is not attached to the table, so I have it actually clamped down. I want to use this vise on my tinkering bench when I get that built. So that's why it's not attached here yet. I'm using these paint stirrers to protect the brace because I don't have these clamps here, or these grips, whatever you want to call them. They're metal, they're not wooden. If they're wooden, it'll have a little bit of give. So I'm just using these as, sacrificial pieces. These things can get squished, but it's not going to leave bite marks all over my brace as I work on it. I did do some of the work, but it's already, I got it clamped down here, so I haven't touched this end. In fact, I can show you how far I've come along here. This is mirrored on me. Okay, this way. It's kind of a pain to get it in there. But if you can see, I sanded right here and up in here, and I haven't touched this side, so you can see it side by side. Let me get some of that light on there. So it's cleaning it up. It's not going to do a massive amount of difference, but it is going to do a noticeable amount of difference. Alright, so now I'm just going to... It's a pain doing this. Really, if I had a third hand, it would be so much easier to do. Alright. Also, I started working on this guy a little bit. This right here, I don't know what you're gonna call it. The edge of this hole had been bowed out. It looked like somebody had just bent the metal up, so it had this ring of metal that was sticking up. And I started working on it. I'm getting it down really good. What I have here, I mean, this is wood. This is sandpaper that's for wood. So I'm actually, most of what I'm doing is just knocking the sand off of the sandpaper. But let's see, hopefully we can see that here. Basically all I'm doing is I have a flat surface here. I'm just putting it on the flat surface and just rubbing it back and forth. After a little bit of that, it's slowly wearing it down. It doesn't look much better, but it's not going to actually look a lot different until it's actually smooth, because a lot of the work's still going to be on the edge. But feeling it with my finger, I can tell that it's almost gone. Yeah, it's almost there. I'm actually going to step it down a notch, because this is 120 grit. What do I have here? I have 240, but it's a very small sheet. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it here. Let's see, can I move it back so you guys can still see it? Oh, it's so close. It's shining up very nicely though. Alright, come on. Let's get this done. Okay, so this is all I'm doing, just back and forth, back and forth. I'm trying to keep it as straight up and down as possible, because every time I move it, let's say I'm moving it this way, every time I move it this way I want to go like this. This is obviously exaggerated, but in doing so, see where it's brushing my hand? Most of the sandpaper, if my hand was a sandpaper, most of the work will be done on the edges and not the flat face that I want it to be worked on. So you gotta focus really hard on keeping it as flat as possible. So now, I mean, you can still, just the right light, you can see that ring going right around here, but feeling it with your finger, you can't even feel it's there. And I can see that I'm getting along the edges. I gotta keep moving this so that the camera can see it. I'm getting around the edges. It's really hard to see with the shine of the light. You can see like there's an area in between where I haven't gotten yet. I got a feeling that that's all gonna flatten out at the same time. So I'm gonna keep on going. So I'm just trying to get it flat, so it'll look nicer. Let's get in there. Let's get in there. I can see the edges where it raised up in here it's starting to get to the point where there's nothing there anymore. So I could leave it as is, or I can keep on going until I have a nice smooth surface all the way around. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Like I said, I don't want to remove too much material, but I don't think I'm really removing a whole lot at the moment. Almost. See how that center part is just starting to, come on, focus, camera, focus. How that center, the less shiny area is starting to disappear. I'm going to keep going until I get that flat. I mean, it's not super important that it's flat, it's just more for my taste. Let's see, can I stick this in there and show you guys? I don't know if I want to do that. I think what that ring came from was these teeth. These teeth go back in here and they stick out through here. And I think it was just tightened so much that the edges, the edges of this, it was actually pushing the teeth here farther than this hole was supposed to let it. So as it got to a certain point and then it was turned, the metal was being pushed out and making that curl there. Alright, well, I'm going to keep on working on that off camera. As you can see, that lip, where is it? That lip right there, if the camera will focus, if I can get in the light, is gone. This raised edge right in here is gone completely. I'll keep on working on it just to get it all nice and flat and smooth. But I just figured I'd let you guys see that. It's going to take me a couple more minutes to get that done, and I don't want to bore you guys to death. Okay, so I'm using right here, I'm just using, what was it, 150? Yeah, 150 grit. The reason I'm using 150 grit to work on this, let me step over here, make sure you can still see it. The reason I'm using 150 grit to work on this is simply just because I have big sheets of 150 grit, and all of my 120 grit is this little guy right here. I definitely need to go out and pick up some more stuff. This right here is a 240 that I was working on this guy with. That's why it was taking so long. But all I'm doing with this is just going back and forth. And this is primarily just to get some of these raised up areas off that the vinegar didn't work on, that the wire brush didn't get. I'm not going to try and focus on getting all of the pitting out of it, because in order to get all the pitting out of it, I'm going to have to remove a lot of material around that pit to bring the surface level down to that point. And then in order to keep the entire thing relatively consistent, I mean, I'm not going to sit here with a micrometer to test it, but to keep the whole thing relatively consistent, I'm going to have to remove a lot of material off of the entire brace, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to sand it down to get rid of, 90% of the pits. I don't really think there's anything too deep, but I'm sure I'm going to find them as I go along. So hopefully you guys can see the difference here. Let me take a look and make sure you guys can. Alright, I'm going to pick you guys up and show you guys a closer look here. Alright, so this right here is the area I was working on. Alright, I was only working on the top. I did not work in here. I did not work from here down. So you can see right about where this line is. This is what I worked on, and I haven't worked on this yet. I've worked on this, so you can see the difference in color. It's not a very massive difference, but it is a noticeable difference. And I'm, like I said, I'm willing to put the time and effort in to clean this up to the best of my ability. And if I don't sand it and use multiple grits of sandpaper, then I'm not doing the best job I can. I know how to do that. I mean, it's more and more, or less and less, of course, grit the sandpaper. It's not difficult. So I know how to do it, so I'm not going to cheat and skip it. I'm going to go ahead and do it and do it properly. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I'm working on this thing and I want to just rush it. Just take a big thing of sandpaper and just all over it and just call it good. And whenever I get to that point, I stop. I put the sandpaper down and I go inside. Because I don't want to rush this. I think it'll look much better if I take my time and work on it. And if I start to get that attitude of just hurry up and get it done, then I'm not going to put the same amount of effort into it. I'm going to just try and rush it. So in order to combat that, I just say, okay, I don't want to try, because if I rush it, I might mess something up. It's not going to look as good. So I just stop what I'm doing and I go inside. And then later on that day or whatever, say, okay, let's go out there and spend some more time on this. When I'm back in the right mindset, then I come back out here and get back to it. But I don't want to work on it while I'm just trying to hurry it up. Don't get me wrong, I would love to be able to just and have this thing looking amazing and done, but once again, the tool is not going to be worth as much to me if I do it that way as if I take my time and work on it. Because then it's just not easily replaceable. You know, I could easily, if I just went ahead and did this real quick, and then later on I drop it, it gets a big dent in there, or somehow it breaks or something like that. Okay, I'll just go out and get another one. It's not going to mean a whole lot. You know, I'll spend a couple minutes sanding it down again and back to it. But this right here, it's going to mean a lot more to me, spending, you know, that much more time on it. Let me fold this over. For some of these turns and stuff, all I do is I just roll the sandpaper over so it's a thinner strip. Which eventually causes it to tear in half. But that way I'm not sanding here and here. I'm sanding, you know, right where my finger is and working my way up. I'm going to keep on going. I don't know how high of a grit I'm going to go. So I imagine with metal, it's not going to be the same as wood. I mean, wood, you can bring the grit up to the, you know, you can bring it up to the point where you're basically using a sponge or a towel and, you know, baby powder. You'll end up with a mirror polish on the wood pieces. I don't know how high of a grit I'm willing to go on this. What was I using here? This was a 240, so I might go to like a 360, somewhere around there. So I'll probably sand the entire thing, I don't know, 3 times. So I'll spend a couple hours sanding it. I'm not going to make you guys sit there and watch the whole thing. But I want to give it a nice good shine. I want to be able to sit there and be proud of it, you know, as opposed to just, yeah, I put some time and effort into it, but you know, it's whatever. Alright, so I'm not going to bore you guys with just hours and hours of me sanding this, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off. I just wanted to let you guys know where I was at with this, what my next stages are. Let's see here. After I get done sanding it, I'll put some oil on it to protect it from rust. I'm going to put this handle back on. I do the best I can with that. Put this handle back on. Then give it a good greasing for the bearings here and the ratcheting area. And this guy will be going up on the wall. Next step after that will be either getting back to work on that wall, or trying to, well, yeah, I'll probably be getting back to work on that wall, while at the same time I'm looking for some of the bits that I'll be able to use this with. And I got a feeling I'm probably going to have to clean those as well. Woohoo! Alright guys, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.